Hello everyone, welcome to the Jenkins weekly infrastructure team meeting. Today we are the 5 August 2025. That's a teeny virtual table, summer. So that virtual table has Mark Waite, Jeredy, and Damien Duporta and myself. On the announcements, first the Jenkins weekly releases. Last week the version 2.521 was successful. We had Docker Hub issues. Yep, like every Tuesday, yes. I think they might do weekly issue. But yeah, in any case, no solution because the Docker hub is the last element we need. So the problem was pulling images. Some layers of some images were met with internal server error, just some layers. So that one was weird. But that happened. When that's the case, we have to wait. And then we re-trigger the image. I haven't had time today to check the release. I believe it started. Let me double check, and I will start the thread after the meeting. But I guess it
No worry about checking it,
started.
Damien. We can check it separately.
Okay. We just have to be careful because since last week, we migrated release CI to a new cluster. So maybe there might be errors during the packaging step. I've improved the health check following an idea from Stefan. Now the health check is not just spinning up the same agent as the release and package processes, but also it tries to reach the key vault and gets the GPG key. So we are sure that we don't have a firewall in the private key vault that doesn't do anything wrong, because usually that's the kind of issue we have, network issues, that the agent cannot reach a certain Azure service. So that should be good, but we never know. If you see issues, it's 99% sure it's Docker Hub or me which forgot something. That's all for the weekly releases.
And so you'll check that?
Yes, of
Okay,
course.
great.
I'm
Thanks.
here that afternoon, and it's just I had friend at home, so for lunch. So we started lunch early, and I forgot to check this one.
Thank you.
Announcement. So reminder: Stefan is off until end of August. I will most probably be off 1 week at the end of August. The days are not fixed yet. So yeah, I will sync with Stefan on that topic. Reminder of the roadmap. We haven't changed the priority. We need to finish decommissioning the Azure sponsored subscription. The only leftover is Redis. And that one has a set of prerequisites. That's the only one. So that's our top priority. And then the next step will be we have the Ansible part. And let me open the roadmap because I don't remember the exact elements. Oh, we'll see next week. Better. So next week we will release Jenkins 2.523 next Tuesday. That will be the 12th, if I'm not mistaken. Next LTS is planned for the 20th of August. That will be 2.516.2. And the release candidate is generated tomorrow, if I'm not mistaken. So nothing specific related to the core releases. We don't have any security release announced publicly, so nothing for us. And in the upcoming 3 weeks, we have a free credential, more or less 3 or 4 weeks. One that we will do as soon as possible, that's the Packer one. And the second one will be handled by Stefan at the end of the month. It's just I've created the issue, so Stefan will be back from holidays and he will have an issue already to warm up during his Monday. That's all for the upcoming calendar. Any question, things to add?
I added the LTS baseline selection that's 1 month from now.
Oh, good.
That's where we
Thanks.
choose the next LTS baseline. And that will be the one that we will release through the end of the calendar year.
Good, good, good. Thanks, Mark. On the cloud budgets, first, CDF. The CDF has consumed a bit more than the previous months, as expected. Right now, the forecast is not realistic, but the forecast says 6.5K. I've aggregated the cost, Mark. I need to share the details, but we can afford 6.4K until end of year in order to have the 60K average on the whole year 2025. So if the forecast is the same and doesn't change, that means we need to at least decrease the monthly cost of at least $100 if we want to be under the threshold, ideally a bit more. If we could target 6K monthly, that should be good.
And you said that the forecast is flawed. It's flawed because we have or is it flawed in a way that it's predictable we will be lower in the future?
No,
We'll
it's
get
hard to.
closer, or we're going to have to take active measures to get ourselves down to that 6.4K.
So in any case, we will need active measures in August and September. That's something systemic, but no emergency to do it this month. It will be important to do it in September in any case, because some of the active measures are also related to um, uh, systems that will be obsolete or expired in Azure, such as the outbound method, the NAT gateways, and stuff.
Thank you. Okay, so this is as we had planned with Michelle Favarola, that we knew we would need to boost expenses. We still see a path to keep ourselves under the 60K annual budget.
Exactly.
Thank you.
In theory, just adapting the instance size for the VPN, trusted cert, and their agents should be enough.
Okay, good. All right. So
We also,
you've already identified a candidate that would get us to that point.
exactly. We have
Thank you.
many candidates, and we will take them step by step. The first one will be using Redis internally and not moving Redis outside of the sponsorship thing. And that means removing parts of the current update center system. The HTTPS enforcing is part of that effort.
Good. Thank you. Okay. And I assume we'll discuss the HTTP to HTTPS transition later today.
Yes, exactly. So the takeaway is we have increased as expected. I haven't sent the email to Michelle, Mark. I will do it right after the meeting, though. That was in my schedule. I wanted to be sure about the amount, the order of magnitude. Were we going to 6.5, which is what I expected? Remember last year when we discussed how many, I said 6K average per month to 6.5. So we with the both subscription merged, that's the reality. But I wanted to be sure we were around at 8K forecasted or something catastrophic.
Right. Well, and the good news here is the invoice that Michelle will see is for July, and you've
Yes,
already said it's well below that number. So you are just predicting the future, forewarning her that a month from now she will see an invoice for this larger amount. So this is not today you're going to see it. It's a month from now.
exactly.
Great. Thank you. Thanks very much, Damien. Jay, sorry that we have to manage funds very tightly, and so this. Thanks.
Yeah, I understand.
Now this the sponsored subscription that ends last day of August. We have 905 bucks which are there. With the current rate we have seen since the past 4 days. We haven't touched anything in the past 4 days, so it's only Redis and a few leftover resources. We can stay until almost end of the month, 29 days. So no rush to change Redis right now. We will continue consuming credits. We know we will reach the expiry date, and Redis will be done in the middle of August, most probably. So yep, again, we are really grateful because that has been a lot of, I will do a summary at the end of the month. Nothing to say on DigitalOcean. We still have a lot of credits available that eventually we could use to move something out of CDF if we are stuck. But the consumption is forecasted as previous month is. Oh, sorry. Invoice. Sorry. So yeah, nothing to say on about DigitalOcean. CloudBees, again, I did not have time because my Okta, etc. I will update this that's not important one. The important one is the sponsored account. So we have consumed way more thanks to CI Jenkins IO moved in July. The forecast this month is at 5.2. So we were expecting 6K. So right now, with the current forecasted consumption and the amount of credits that is at the 1st of August, so it's updated. That means the previous bills are consuming credit, so everything is fine. No need for a card or expenses. Right now, we have almost 17 months remaining with the current rate. That's fine, and that's really good. We can even do better if need be, but yeah, right now I'm not worried about this one. Oh, I totally forgot JFrog. Last week, what you see are the numbers from last week. Sorry, Mark. The storage hasn't moved this week because I have an alert, so I'm sure it's 10 gigabyte every week due to the logs. And the bandwidth, we are currently actively working on that. More on this a bit later. So I don't have anything else about everything is going as planned. No emergency, no bad surprise on the cloud credits. Any question?
No, thanks very, very much, Damien. I appreciate deeply your sensitivity to this one. Thank you. Thanks very much for monitoring it so well.
Thanks. Sorry. Okay, let's go on the operational tasks. So this week we were able to finish the following tasks. First, our top level priority, we were able to move private cluster, the Azure cluster that hosts Infra CI and Release CI and the agent for Release CI effectively was migrated to the sponsored subscription, to the, CDF subscription and from the sponsored one. So yep, that one is one of the culprit of increasing the CDF bill, but that was expected. So I was waiting before proactively working on this one to check today, but yeah, release is the last workload we haven't fully tested yet. So let's see the weekly release, but that one should be good. On the support part, we had a quick request from Basil. So I've installed earlier today the team plugin with a few plugins. They were done in weekly CI last week, and we added them on CI Jenkins IO. So now finally I can use a solarized theme on CI Jenkins IO. I would not have thought that it's interesting, but yeah, that helps.
So,
Yep.
Damien, did you update other plugins, or is that a separate? I saw yesterday that there were many plugins on ci.jenkins.io that were not recent
Yep.
releases. Is that
I
a
also
separate
did
process?
I did both.
You did. Okay,
In a
thank
one
you.
transaction.
Okay, thank you. All right.
So thanks, Basil. That's really a good idea. CI Jenkins IO is a public flagship for us. So that's really interesting to have the teams on a real life instance. We had an incident on Issues Jenkins IO this weekend. The certificate was expired. So good point, Mark. I'm sure I saw a word issue on PagerDuty that auto solved itself. So I might be my memory betraying me.
No, I
I think
saw the
that's worth
PagerDuty
investigating.
issue. What I didn't see was an alert 15 days ago or 30
Yes,
days ago that
exactly.
said our SSL certificate. The PagerDuty alert
As I
was
saw one,
reasonable.
I'm sure 1 or 2 weeks ago, I saw an issue and I didn't check the date of the certificate because the issue stayed for 1 or 2 minutes and just disappeared.
Oh,
So I need to investigate. Am I crazy or did I saw that alert? And we should have one. The reason why I didn't push in my memory is because for me, they were using Certbot with HTTP challenge, so no operation from us. In the past, that's all they were able to renew because they have the control of the HTTP server, they don't need DNS. And it looks like they are using their new technique with AWS automated system. That's the same idea as Let's Encrypt, but internally inside AWS services. So that one doesn't support HTTP. That is the most probable explanation. They changed the Acme system using to generate certificates from Let's Encrypt to AWS. So they were in need of us to create a certain DNS record. Problem is both Linux Foundation operation team and us has been caught off guard because none of us anticipated this. So the actionable for us, the post-mortem is we need to be alerted. So we, like you said, I think 20 days now because Let's Encrypt and the other are restricted, but we need to be alerted when it will be yeah, at least 1 month before so we can open an issue and they can renew the certificate.
Do you want me to create a help desk ticket just asking for
Yeah,
SSL certificate or expiration monitoring, or is it better to not
yes.
worry about that?
No, I think we need an actionable, otherwise it will slip under the radar. So
Okay,
a
I'll
new
do
help
that.
desk that mention this one that say, okay, the problem is solved, now we need to improve, and that will be a direct actionable. Is that okay for you?
Yeah, I'll happily create that. Thanks.
That's in the Datadog area, so someone here has started to work with Datadog synthetics, so continuing on the Datadog monitoring could be something to help. Thanks, Mark. Don't forget to put it in triage if you don't mind, because clearly we won't be able to work on this week, but it must be on next week. It must be
Actually,
triaged.
I'm not sure. Yeah, okay, maybe it needs to be triage next week, but I'm not worried at all about when we work on it. If it takes a month or two, the consequences are relatively minor. We know how to fix these when we get surprised. Yep.
Okay, thanks. No, Jag, go ahead and join back then. No problem.
Okay.
On the we will treat other tasks until yours, so no worries. Someone opened an issue about a plugin not up to date. Looks like it was only support with client-side caching on their web browser because everything was updated. But yeah, it's better to ask because everything was complete with a lot of information. So yeah. Maven cache. So the issue was that Carpenter, the system that trigger nodes where to run our pods, is trying by default to use the less expensive node as available. And it appears there is a new family of AWS instances, not a new family, a new teeny instance that was enough to handle the Maven 1 giga and 2 CPU request limits. So the root file system where /tmp where we were writing so we get the M2 and then we create an archive before copying it to S3. And the /tmp was full. But you cannot, I haven't found a way to monitor that because these are ephemeral agents. So the time you have the alert in the Datadog detects the agent is already gone. So that's why we don't have PagerDuty. That's a funny one. So yeah, the technique was to increase the resource limits. And also, just to be sure we don't reproduce the issue in 3 months with a new family or whatever, now the archive is directly written to S3. We use the CSI mentioned by a driver used by Darren, mentioned by Darren yesterday, that mounts and project an AWS S3 bucket as a file system. If you do only one read of one file or one write of one file, the performances are quite good. Listing directories is terrible, awful, so don't do an ls on that directory. So here we just write the tar gz directly, archive directly inside. That avoid intermediate steps. That adds a penalty of 15 seconds on a 9-minute build, so that's fine. That's just a mention that was also a good candidate for monitoring. So we know we have the alert when it's not up to date. So if we could have PagerDuty letting us, hey, please have a look at this, that could be better.
Well, but that's a different kind of alerting. That one seems more complicated in that it's watching a. Well, oh no, maybe not. It's just watching the timestamp of a file, isn't it?
So yeah,
Okay.
that means using what Jay built. The
Okay.
pipeline library, that's the pipeline. We had the pipeline library, the report is uploaded, and then we can proceed.
Oh, because the job was failing. It's not just that the thing was out of date. We had a private job that was failing, and if we'd been notified of the private job's failure, I
Exactly.
see. Got it. Thank you. Okay, so Jay's
Uh,
pipeline
Yeah, I
library.
think the pipeline is at a stage where we can slowly start integrating them with the other
mm.
pipelines.
However, two points here. Thought process we had with Stefan. First, the pipeline that failed is public right now, and it's on CI Jenkins. In theory, we could directly do a Datadog synthetics that checks the job. So that one should be easy. So that means we won't and we shouldn't use a J work on a public one because the agent of CI Jenkins.io don't have write permission on the build report website. However, we have this one. There is the GeoIP data routine that runs inside Kubernetes as a Kubernetes cron job. And we have a third one for garbage collecting the Docker registry. And we might have many. Stefan and I realized that only he and I have the access to the cluster and the knowledge on how to monitor these cron jobs. And somehow, this cron job could run from Infra CI, which is private, but that could allow person who don't have time. In that case, Mark, you don't have all the elements, and we could have long documentation, but that means, hey, what's the problem? So that kind of job, if they are on infra or trusted, depending on the sensitivity, could be private. So instead of running a cron inside Kubernetes, we run a cron that can be triggered manually. That will make it, let's say, a bit more spread across components, but that will help on making it replayable if you need to retry or see elements or replay the pipeline, and that will allow using J's technique. So we have only one way on private jobs. That's the idea, and I think Stefan wanted to open an issue about the Docker garbage collecting. I'm gonna do it a bit later, but that's the proposal here. So Jay, you can forget about this one for now, since it's public. It's not an immediate actionable for you. There are other jobs that we mentioned, but that's the idea, Mark. Any question on this one?
That makes sense. Thanks very much for thinking of that. I hadn't thought of other types of cron jobs as candidates, but of course they are, right? If we're scheduling with anything other than something that we can monitor, there's a risk we will
Exactly.
fail to detect. We will not detect a failure of that thing we're scheduling.
Exactly. So that's why, yeah, that's an interesting one to have. Finally, we were able to fix a long issue in some time. So that was not infrastructure, that was not AWS fault. That was visible on AWS because the SSH client that was embedded inside the repository only for the test of the image, they weren't working as expected when using a Windows container in an EC2 Windows machine. Because the kernel of this Windows machine enforced and restricts some, let's say, weak ciphers when running encryption. That's not the case on Azure though. So in the case of AWS, the SSH exe that was 5 years old, the client, was failing to connect and was asking, hey, that's a weak one, I don't know, are you sure? And it was waiting for input. That has been a fun one to debug. So solution remove the SSH exe, the binary DLL, that was a workaround non-documented, and now it just works. We use the SSH exe of the platform and that just works. Yep, funny one, but at least one less thing to scratch our heads. A few updates, nothing worth discussing. The GDK patch campaign was already done last week. We were waiting for the weekly release. That was the last one for once. Because someone here played with the LTS image first for the new GDK before the weekly.
Pick
Uh,
me, pick
yep,
me. Yes, I did it. It was intentional.
I mean, are the dependency of the Jenkins image LTS or not? The reality is clearly not. What is LTS is Jenkins itself. That's a packaging thing. Free credential expired. Thanks, Stefan, for the help. And free. No, free. Oh no, that one is something that Stefan and I cooked. We had that hold thing that wasn't removed after the update center migration. That used to be the place where the websites for PKG and update center were generated and then sent to the virtual machine. But that hasn't been updated since 2 years. And yep, it was lying here. Yeah, $1 daily. That's still some money. Now, work in progress. So the top level priority is again decommission as your sponsored subscription. I haven't put on this week milestone any work in progress on the Redis, but that will start immediately. That will be the next priority. On the support part, GSOC admin, no answer from Gitter. The portal to ping them again. Not an emergency one, but I haven't heard from them. Nothing happened from GitHub. So that one, it's just here for figuration. That's the Jenkins CI GitHub admins that manage that, and they didn't heard from GitHub. Move data for the usage site. First slice of knowledge transfer with Stefan. So it's more about the plan. I just presented the choices I will want to work on during the upcoming month. Which will be preparing the new machine on DigitalOcean to migrate out from AWS CloudBees, but make that machine bigger so it can handle the current workload and the stat generation. So that's just adding a bit more hard drive and a PostgreSQL database. So everything will be done locally. Stefan agreed, I haven't seen any issue and was going to propose the same pattern. So that's why I say first slice. He still doesn't know how it's done, but that will be the next slice. Yes, Mark?
Our stats data is still back from April. I assume that we'll do another run, or
Yep.
will we do another run in the next month or two, or what's?
That's my plan. But
Okay.
I need a lot of hard drive space, and yep.
Okay.
So that's why.
Thank you.
To allow generating stats manually once. Need page SQL and a lot of disk. Does it answer your question, Mark? Good. I've started to work on a pull request draft. The goal is for me to create an empty machine, generate the stats on the machine, and then migrate the content of usage. Garbage collecting data volume of the Docker Hub. So I'm a bit, I forgot the English word. So I made a mistake when recreating AWS platform, and I forgot one attribute. That was the attribute that fixed the garbage collecting issue, because we already had that issue in the past. And when I searched the history, because I was like, no, I'm sure I already fixed that. Yes, I did. And when I cherry picked, I forgot one commit with one line. So in theory, the problem should be gone because we didn't have that problem during the last months in AWS in April. However, we will know the problem is deterministic. You have to wait 5 to 7 days depending on the layers because that's the default TTL. So after 7 days, if the problem did not appear again, that means the problem is gone. The issue is still not fixed on the registry itself. That's a terrible bug, but hard to fix, of course. Which means we still need to monitor and eventually garbage the disk because that means we never delete the layers. So we just have to clean it up from time to time. So in any case, the work that Stefan started will be needed. But as I said earlier, that should be easier to have a routine that run once a month in Infra CI that we can run manually if need be. So anyone can operate it without having access to the cluster. And we limit the error of human mistake here. The second reason is because that's not an easy one, because you have to stop the registry service, clean up its hard drive, and scale it up again to start. And the problem is if you need a cron that need the disk, if you want to mount the disk, that's a local disk for performances because that's a caching system. So the disk can only be mounted by only one node at a time. So how do you mount on a new pod that will be concurrent with the existing service? So you need something outside Kubernetes to tell the system, scale down, so you release the disk, mount the disk, clean the content of the disk, unmount the disk, and scale up the service again. The other solution is to move the registry mirror in HA mode, and that one requires a Redis database for stocking the index and a blob storage system, Amazon S3, instead of the disk. And in that case, we can do whatever we need, but that will be a lot for, I mean, that will be overkill, clearly. Any question on this one? Okay, so that one, the problem should be gone, and now we only have to add our cron routine in InfraCI. On the platform up to date, Damien is late. Need to create a new LDAP binding user to unblock Ryan at LF. Yep. I'm still struggling on what are the exact properties. Most probably I will duplicate the existing user and just do a new password, but my LDAP querying foo is low nowadays. I need to remind myself how it works. So no, I won't ask an LLM. I will read the documentation way better. Okay, that was just for the
That's the
joke.
way to go.
By the way, Jay, for your task that you are going to explain to us, I think
Yeah.
creating Terraform Datadog synthetics with the help of an LLM could be a great help for you since you don't have access to Datadog yet. I think
Okay,
that will
I'll
be a
check
good
it out.
use case.
The
If you
reference.
are interested, that's only up to you. But I made you specify what you want. So now you have a good foundation to prompt the system.
This sounds like a trap.
You have the right to do
I
it by
hope it's
yourself.
not.
I don't mind. I will be faster not asking an LLM, but since I know you were, if you want to experiment, that will be a good use case. If you don't want, there are no mandatory, no trap, no expectation. You do what you
All
prefer.
right. I looked at the example. It's not something that's unfamiliar because I did work on a few Terraform files.
Good. So what's the status of the task? Sorry, I was giving the transition.
Okay, let's see. Where are we with this task? Okay, so currently the shared pipeline library to generate the report and publish it on the new web service that we've set up, builds.reports.jenkins. That works very well. So we've integrated it right currently for testing with the Docker 404 pipeline. And also we've included the archive artifact step um, to create an artifact of the AZ copy logs in case of failure. So that works as well. It was tested. So the integration was fine. All the logic is handled in shell, and the report is written using bash docs. So for the next phase to integrate Datadog monitoring, we've set out a few rules for alerting. I've actually laid these out in the issue, in a comment in the issue. So we would want to trigger an alert if these three conditions are met. The first one being no report exists, a build failure, or like if the report timestamp is older than 24 hours. Since our cron jobs, it doesn't exceed 24 hours any build. So I've actually tested out a few curl commands to for for these business rules that I've laid out. I've tested them locally to fetch the information we need, and these will be used as assertions in the synthetic file. So that's the status so far. Was that a decent explanation? Did I miss
Clear for
anything?
me? Yep. So next step is translate these initial condition into Datadog synthetic monitor specified by Terraform.
Yes.
And you have different paths for doing that. Mark, the reason that's a challenge for Jay is just he doesn't have access to Datadog. I wasn't able to create an account that will only have access to Synthetics Monitor. So I prefer not spending time on it and waiting for Jay to get his new machine, and then he will have a full access as a developer and no restriction. So he will be able to play around. But that means he must abstract the thing and work on a remote system without access. So yep, that's an exercise somehow.
Good. And Jay, you're okay with that as well? I think we've
Yeah, I'm
got
okay with
we've got a
I
path for
don't
you to
think
get that
it's
computer relatively soon. So yeah.
yes.
Good. Anything else or any question on that topic? Nope. Okay. My turn. So there is a work in progress to reduce the bandwidth, the outbound bandwidth from JFrog Artifactory. The logs analysis by Darren, Mark, and Basil show that the public IP of CI Jenkins IO were downloading a lot of data. I think we are close to 800 gigabytes per month if we summarize all of them. So that's quite a good one. And so I realized that there were something, all the artifacts that were stored on AWS S3, which were basically when Maven download them, Artifactory answer redirect, and you are redirected to a 1-hour valid URL on S3. These URL were handled by ACP. So Nginx detects the redirect, extract the location, remit a backend request and get the content at the end. So that was working, no job were failing. However, this kind of a redirection pattern are artifacts that were never cached. I'm not sure if it worked and if there has been a configuration change or not, because the configuration change was only including a subfile in Nginx config that contain all the proxy cache directive that turns the caching on. And I think they never were cached. That explains some of the behavior we saw in the past, especially with the bomb, because the file were re-downloaded, so piling the request on Nginx. That explains a lot what happened. And the second thing is there were just a few artifacts. I looked as much on the logs as far away as possible. And I saw that even the war file initially weren't redirected. That was just a few elements. So that's because that's an implementation detail. Sometimes they moved out of disk or they did things that increase the amount of artifacts and that make it detectable by our analysis. I've seen a direct effect. The size of the cache on Nginx has doubled. We went from 8 gigabyte used on the cache directory to 16, and it's growing. So we have 150 gigabytes, so we are far, far away and it's monitored. But yeah, that show a direct impact, and I hope it will have a direct effect on the bandwidth reduction.
Excellent. That's okay. So and the fact that you saw the cache size increasing, particularly for those 90 gigabyte 90 megabyte files is a good sign, right?
Yep.
That's gratifying. That's super. Very good. Thank you.
So next step is to continue monitoring the IPs here. So I shared the IPs with Darren. and we will see if that goes back out of the list of the top consumer, or if we have other patterns. But yeah, that one was a quick fix. I was sure there was something wrong. The patterns I was seeing were triggering something.
Mm.
And if we have other consumers, there might be another solution, the Maven cache generated by the bomb. That one is available and could be used for normal builds. So that's an easy one to have for the container builds and for the virtual machine that could be also a few lines in the cloud init, which basically will be download the file, extract it on home-jenkins.m2 repository, and that's okay.
Right.
That one will be, in any case, that will be worth doing. Not mandatorily priority here, but yeah, that could be a good one.
So, but that one would create it would increase the latency to get plugin builds started, for instance, or Jenkins core builds started, right? Because it's not free to copy that cache into a
Yep.
freshly started agent. Okay.
Yes. On the bomb agent, that copy takes 15 to 20 seconds.
Okay.
So we have an order of magnitude on the bomb builds that
Right.
start on a lot of things. So yep, I think if we do that, that should be something at the pipeline library level. So it could be turned on or off by the developer if it doesn't fit their needs. I believe that will be the prerequisite. Enabled by default, but you can opt out. So that's all for the CI. So let's wait at least 1 week to see the effects. Infra CI, no work done except communicating to Darin the new set of IPs. Since we moved private cluster to a new network, we have changed the outbound IP for Infra CI. So now we need to monitor the new IPs if they are not in the top consumers. The amount of data downloaded here is low, but we still don't know where it doesn't come from. That will require just a bit of time for analysis. For now, I'm gonna wait to see if we are still on the top consumer or not. Is that okay, Mark? Cool. Next item, Windows virtual machine performances. That was delayed. I tried things, but yeah, I wasn't able to find a technique to avoid Windows machine restarting during their boot phase. That used to be an old technique before fast launch, but the sysprep phase that takes care of changing the DNS stack is required for fast launch. So not sure. I need to run other experiments. I want to try booting from a non-EBS root volume, but every documentation and testimonies I saw on the internet shows that we are as close as we can. Now the slow part is because these images are really huge. So one of the leverage could be trying to shrink as much as possible the roots drive in AWS only, because we have an NVMe for the home Jenkins data. Next immediate step is to implement the full Windows SSH, which during the boot phase will get the home user Jenkins, copy it, on the drive, copy back on both Windows and Linux, and we'll see if it has if it increased the build performances. What else do we have? Tombstone Puppet delayed. Nothing done here. We had information by Jack, but I'm still waiting for more details. Haven't heard back. And OSUSL decrease mirror dependency will be the next step. Um, Delayed until update center is HTTPS enforced. That's a prerequisite. The OSUSL1 and the update center are our top priority regarding the cost on CDF. That will have a positive impact. I've reopened an issue following a feedback from Daniel about IRC bot. Mark, I've pinged him, but I think I will need a documentation SIG to help us. I'm not really sure what are the IRC bots deprecated and uninstalled system that we were using for the Jenkins infra, the one on that issue, with the whatever bot or chat system used by the hosting team, where they say grant that permission to that person on Jenkins CI. I'm not sure I'm clear on which one, because they used to be a single one, then they have been split, and it looks like that the infrastructure Jenkins IO page is not completely up to date. So I've reopened this issue so we can finish updating the public documentation. Initially, I wanted to remove the page, but reading the page showed me I might remove source of information for developers. So I prefer asking the persons who know, right? So no emergency on this one, it can stay, but just open so we track it. That's all for the work in progress. Are there any questions so far? Okay, we have a few issues to triage. I propose we focus first on the update center. So that will be my top priority.
And Damien, I apologize. I will have to drop in 2 minutes. I'll drop silently when that comes.
Okay, thanks. So tomorrow, as announced on the blog post, we will enforce HTTP to HTTPS redirection and update Jenkins IO. That means we will have to deploy it tomorrow. We might have an hiccup on the update center when I will do it. So I will announce it 30 minutes before the operation. The fallback won't work during that operation because everything will be stopped and restarted with new settings. I'm doing it at once because there are naming convention that comes from HTTP and HTTPS. So I prefer cleaning up everything. So during 1 hour, expect Update Center to have some hiccups and eventually being out of date until I've run the last generation. I will do it tomorrow as early as possible on my morning, so I will limit the impact. That one will remove 6 pods in production. So clearly that will be one less virtual machine to pay for, at least for a few hours or days. I don't have anything. Are there things here to mention? Question on that other most important topic? Okay. Second one, I'm wondering if we should keep the German mirror of SciLister. Right now, they are working on helping the user who have issue, but looks like they are applying bandwidth restriction. So if that's the case, then better to reconsider. So I'm gonna add this to the milestone and we'll see. Okay, to Mark left. I think Jay, are you still here? Okay,
Yeah.
moving. Okay, sorry. You were frozen for a moment. So these are the two important ones. The other are usual support new issues. One, we have a bug in the label management on CI Jenkins IO. That will be a quick one. GSOC 2025, they need a repo. And finally, I'm keeping in triage the Netlify token that will be for Stefan in 3 weeks. That's all for me. Do you have other elements you want to discuss as part of that recording?
Nope.
Nope. Okay, so then we're going to close.
Yeah.
Oh, I forgot this one. Okay, thanks, Jay. Let me finish the notes and update the milestone. Okay, we're good. So I'm gonna stop screen sharing, stop recording. So for people watching us, see you next week.